Hey, all you bikini lovers! I'm Jessica Young, your bikini fitness trainer, and I'm so sorry about what happened earlier. I was trying to stream live, but the internet cut out, so whoops! So anyways, here we go. So today I wanted to talk to you about utilizing HIIT methods for maximizing fat loss. Now, when you think of HIIT, what usually comes to mind? Probably Tabata popped up, right? So much attention has been given to Tabata that it has become literally synonymous with HIIT. But there are many other kinds of HIIT methods that are actually just as effective in fat loss. Now HIIT, what is HIIT? High intensity interval training. HIIT is exercise that has basically incomplete recovery. It has different work to rest ratios, and it's also physically and mentally demanding. HIIT can be fun, it goes quickly, and you can be really creative with your workouts. Did you know interval training has been used since 1912 when Finnish runner Hans Kolehmainen trained with them for the 10,000 meter Olympic race? Since he's a 4-time Olympic gold medalist and world record holder, I would think that would prove intervals to be a very effective way of training. In 1996, Dr. Tabata did a study on the Japanese speed skating team to see if it's possible to decrease training volume and increase the intensity at the same time. And after only a 4-minute study of 20 minutes worked and 10 seconds rest, both Vo2 Max and the anaerobic capacity improved, and that's amazing. Now that's only 4 minutes, so imagine what could happen if you do this more than once. Maybe lose a few inches? There have been many studies done regarding interval training since then, as well as before then. HIIT training has been found to be effective and a time-efficient approach to reducing body fat time and time again. When you start any exercise program, please keep in mind your safety and what you're physically capable of at that moment. For example, my ankle injury gets aggravated by HIIT, so I have to modify. So when I do my sprinting, for instance, I cannot run on concrete, so I either have to pick a dirt trail, or my favorite is sprinting on the beach. Now, of course, this means that I'm at the mercy of the tide gods, so so if it's high tide, then I still have a little bit of an issue. I modify the frequency of how often I do HIIT. So the recommended HIIT interval is 3 to 4 times a week. So for instance, over a 2-week period, you could train up to 7 times with HIIT without injuring yourself, because you could do it every other day. If I do that 3 times a week, no matter what, my pain threshold just starts increasing, and all the way up here, and it's like, and now I'm out for a month or something, so I can't do that. So I have to modify it for myself, maybe do different things. I modify the duration. So depending on the method of HIIT that you choose, I could do cycle sprinting for maybe an hour or so. Now, if I were to sprint, like running on the beach, I can't do that for an hour. Sprinting on the sand is actually pretty hard. So I can do 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes, it's like I'm dead for the next 3 days or something. I modify my warm-up routine. So every single morning there's no fancy word for this, or there's no fancy name, so I just call it 10 circles one direction, 10 circles the other direction. And I do that with every single joint, starting from my jaw all the way down to each individual toe. I move each joint 10 times one direction, 10 times the other direction. If I don't do this before I sprint, then my body has a tendency to overuse one joint, or the other joint might be frozen, and so it's just not getting any mobility at all. And in that respect, if I don't actually do my proper warm-up, my proper full warm-up, then I could end up in an injury anyway. I modify the type of HIIT that I do. So I mentioned previously that I love dance as a form of cardio. Dance is fun. Even if you have 2 left feet, it's still fun, Because, hey, you know, it's challenging for your brain. You got to move it around and be like, wait a second, something's happening here. You get to feel the rhythm, you know, all sorts of things. You get to change up your routine so you're not working your muscles and your joints and your body in the same way over and over and over again, you know, because that could also, like I mentioned in my last video, that could result in injury from overuse. So there are different variations of HIIT that you can do based on the percentage of VO2 max. Now, VO2 max, if you don't already know, is maximal oxygen consumption. So this refers to the maximum amount of oxygen that you can utilize during intense exercise. So your body, you're not just one whole piece. You're actually, if you look at a microscopic level, you have all these individual little cells right up in there, you know. And that goes for your joints, your muscles, your tendons, ligaments, skin, your fat cells. They're all individual and they all require oxygen and energy, you know, to varying amounts. If you can increase the maximum amount of oxygen that your body can use during intense exercise, then you can increase the oxygen that you can use during high level exercise, you know, bump it up a notch. Then you can also increase the energy that you can produce. So you can work out harder, essentially, you know, you can give it more. Also, this is considered the best indicator of cardiovascular fitness and aerobic endurance. So cardiovascular fitness is important because your muscles need oxygen for exercise and your heart must pump enough blood through your circulation. So as I mentioned previously, blood has many responsibilities in your body, including getting blood to your working muscles, right? To these little guys right here, little guys. Blood has to go to your skin to decrease your body temperature if you're in a hot environment, or if you're really exerting yourself and you're just producing all this heat, then the blood has to go to your skin and be like, oh, gotta cool it down there. Blood has to go to your brain. If you don't believe me on this, then if the blood is cut off through, say, a chokehold in mixed martial arts, MMA, you know, just give it a little bit, and best case scenario, the person will faint. Worst case scenario, they could die if you cut off blood to their brain. So blood is very important. You really don't want to end up passed out on the floor. Previously, I had two people pass out on me, a man and a woman, two separate incidences. Who would have thunk? Both times, their last meal was before 10 a.m. They hadn't worked out since like the summer before, and they were trying out the gym. And decided to go all out on a treadmill at 7 p.m. Yeah. Anyways, so their last meal was at 10 a.m., sprinting at 7 p.m., and guess what happened next? The woman came back to the desk that I was working. We were in the process of signing her up for a membership, and when it came time for her to sign, she literally turned white as a ghost and stared at the computer. Literally just stared, I kid you not. All blood drained from her face. Her lips were the same shade of white as her cheeks, and fortunately, another trainer was already moving to stand behind her, and the next thing I knew, she collapsed and almost hit her head on the counter as he caught her. I mean, wow. Right? That popped my fainting cherry. It was the scariest thing I had ever seen. Whew. And when she came to, you know, we got her home safely and she signed up the next day. And just a few weeks later, like, hello, just a few weeks later, a guy walks in, the same thing. He pounded it out on the treadmill for a good, 30 minutes. He came back to sign up, and just as he was picking a training package to go with his membership, he turned white as a paper, like white as a sheet of paper. He stared at me this time, you know, like the weirdest blank stare, and he wasn't present. He wasn't there anymore. He was just I mean, isn't that freaky, right? And I remembered what happened to the woman, so when I saw his face, I went around the corner to his side, and as I touched his shoulder, his knees gave way, and fortunately the counter was there. It kind of stopped him from going straight down, and I caught him, and he was much heavier than she would have been, so I basically just slowed his descent down. Because, you know, he was like this tall, and I'm this tall. So, question for you. Is your cardiorespiratory system important? Absolutely. And if these two stories hadn't proven it to you, I don't recommend waiting a good 8 hours with no food in your stomach and just going all out. It takes experience, really. So, you know, don't go all out the first time you do something. Ease into it, you know, go 50%, 60% the next time, 70%, and then eventually work up until you get used to it. If you're not used to it, your blood will literally just shoot out your head and you will drop like a bowling ball out of my grip. Anyways, the best way to test your VO2 max is exercising on a treadmill or a bike with a face mask on at a clinic. Now, if you can't get to a clinic, there are many other ways, but this is the most accurate way to measure your VO2 max to see how much oxygen you can provide to your body at any one time. Also, you could go by your perceived exertion, but it's not very accurate. I mean, you can only go by how you feel, and you might think that you're working out way up here and you're really just kind of like what I said when I first came to the Philippines. Because I wasn't used to this heat, the humidity, just none of it, and I felt like I was gonna die every single time I worked out. Like I just took a step, it's like, ugh. Was not planning on that at all.